Hello everybody, I'm Avian, and today we're going to do an overview of Tiled so that you'll have an understanding of how the program works when you go to make your own Stardew maps, add things to existing maps, or just use Tiled for your own personal projects. I like Tiled for a number of reasons. In addition to be used for Stardew modding, it's great for other programs. There's a lot of different examples on their website of different projects that Tiled has been used for. In this particular context, we're going to be talking about Tiled being used to make maps for my Stardew Valley mod, the Garden Cottage. As you can see, I have a reference map pulled up here. This is Joseph's house that I built. In another video, we will build a map from scratch. But I am using this as an example just to walk through the program to have something on the screen for y'all. So the first thing you're going to notice is that it's got its own little tab. You can have multiple tiled maps up at a time if you want to see how they interact with each other. They also have this world feature here where if you have multiple tiles, maps in a specific world, you can overlay them. I'm going to actually show you this with another map here. Let's go to this one. Back up. So this is another project that I've been toying with. It is nowhere near even beginning to be started. It is just something that I decided I was going to make a massive map, and I have made a massive map. What this is about, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 12 maps all layered together. Each one of these where I mouse over is a new map. And this is what this world feature lets you do. So if I wanted to go in and make, like, say you were making a new map to potentially replace the farm map, and you wanted to make sure that your road was going to connect to where the road on the bus stop did, you could put your original vanilla file maps into a world, and you could put the farm map you're building into a world. And you just go up here to this world tool. Let's see. This one, this big green plus button where it says add another map to a current world. And it'll let you select your maps, you choose your map, you hit open, and that'll put it in. And then once it's in, you click that button there, and you can move your map around until it's in line with the map you want to make it sure it's in line with. So if I was building this one all off on its own, and I want to make sure it lines up, I just drag it, and then I can build my other one and make sure that the road lines up. The offset layers option in here, when I am making a Stardew Valley map, I do not want to touch that, because what that does, I'm going to exit out of this, what that offset layers does is if you have it toggled on, you can drag everything in a layer to a different location. I personally find that messes me up, so I tend to leave it alone. I don't use this when I'm using my Stardew Valley map. However, on another project of a different style, you may find that to be incredibly useful. There are other tools here. So some of these, here we go. Depends on what style layer you're on. When you go over here to a new layer, you can choose a type of layer to make. So your tile layer is going to be where your artwork, your tiles, your floors, your walls, anything like that is included. Your object layer is going to be where you add in your tile properties, tile actions, things like that. You can have an image layer, which will let you, let me see if I can do that correctly. I think an image layer is like if you have a blueprint or something you want to trace over. I will admit I have not played with the image layer portion very much. Or if you want like a solid background image that everything else lays on top of, things like that. You can group your layers into sections. So if you are not constrained by certain naming conventions for your layers, the way Stardew modding works on a different project, you can have group folders. So you can have different layers, like you might want a ground layer where you have like grass and then all your flowers are in a different layer. You might make a group layer and label it ground. That is less important for Stardew modding, because in Stardew modding you have to have certain naming conventions set for your layer names to make sure everything works correctly with the original files, the way it's hard coded. So this button right there is your new layer folder, new layer button. You can move, like you can select your layer and go up or down. You can duplicate. You can obviously delete a full layer. You can show hide other layers. So right now I'm on the paths layer. If I click show hide, that shows me only what I've built on the path layer, which you can also do with this little eye icon here. You can also lock your layers if you want to make sure you're not accidentally working on a layer. You can lock all the other layers to make sure everything you're putting on goes on a specific layer. So now back up to the top, your buildings thing, some of these options up here are specific to your buildings layer where you're adding layer actions and tile actions and things like that. You can put some text on there, notes for yourself. They have one for a template if you want to follow a specific template. If you want to insert a certain tile. If you need things to be in a certain shape, you can draw shapes. And again, this is specific to the buildings layer. This is this little, it's like a white box with a pink stamp on it, looks like, is what you use when you draw your section. Like if you want to select everything, that's what that is. Not draw it. Sorry, I have a cat in the background. I've been gone for a couple days and she has been missing me and now she's being Velcro Kitty. So I apologize if you hear her in the background. This is the one where if I'm drawing layer tiles, I just choose a square. Your little teardrop thing, you can put a pin marker. And again, I'm going to go over all of these. We're going to build a map in another video, and I will show you how to do different things on this. This is just a walkthrough. On a classic layer, you have a select same tile tool. So if you notice on these wood floors, not all of these are the same stamp based on where we want the wood pattern, but I can use it to hover over and see where exactly I've had that same stamp. And if I want to replace just that stamp with a different one, you can click select and it'll and then you can say, I want it to be green leafies. And then you just paint over it and only the ones that are selected will get that treatment. Your magic wand tool will do everything that's connected of a same style. So my back layer, that's all the black there, since that's where it's connected, that's what's highlighting. Your standard selection box, where you just select a row or a column or a square. You have an eraser tool. Let me deselect. Oops. Well, your eraser tool you can see is erasing parts of that. There we go, deselect. This is a shape fill tool. So you can select it. You can select either round or square. If I choose circle and I've got these leaves, it will draw, and this is on a grid system, so it'll draw a pixel shaped circle or square, whichever you select. There's a fill tool, so you can fill in specific shapes. And then this is a terrain brush, which if you need it to do certain things, you can set up terrain tiles like your pools or your water. That's very specific to. Let's see if I got an example over here. I don't have. This is an indoor tile sheet, which makes it a little harder to show that off. But you can set it up to have a terrain brush, and you can choose your terrain you want, grass or mud or water, whatever you've set up, so that it paints, and then the edges would be the edges. Like if you did a pond, it'd be the edges of the pond. Izzy, you are not helping. And this, of course, is your stamp brush, which is what I use primarily when I'm making maps for Stardew Valley, because you select out of your tile sheet, and it's just there, and you just can go one square at a time. See, we have your up here, of course, is your standard file menu, your standard edit menu. What was I saying before she interrupted me? So this will show your grids, everything you want to toggle on or off, whether you want object outlines or reference names, if you want to include the animations, or include a world, or if you have a parallax in there, whether that is enabled or not. Snap to grid, which I do have turned on. Your world, which I showed you over on these buttons, they have the little information here. Whether you want to resize your map is under your resizing, cropping, offsetting sections, properties. Some of this you might just want to play with. And this is all the same tools that are over in your layer box over here. So if you had this turned off, for some reason, you could go under your layer drop down and select all of that there. I prefer to have my layers over in the side so I can see it as I work. And of course, your standard help menu, if you have everything in a project folder. Under map, if you go to map properties, that will show you everything over in this pane. And again, you can drag these up, down, over. I have found it most helpful to have over here because I frequently have that up and am looking at it at the same time as I'm looking over here for reference numbers and stuff. So whether your orientation, height, width, if it's an infinite map, if it has a specific size, I do specify sizes when I'm making maps for Stardew Valley, because if you can keep your maps smaller, the better it does, the less load time it takes, and you can always join two maps together in the world view or make your map bigger with the resize option if you need more room. Your custom properties. So this you will find if you go onto the Stardew map wiki. These are things that are set with Content Patcher, and they go again under map drop down properties, and we'll go into this into another video. But you can add property, make a string name, add a property. So depending on what type of project you're doing, that's how you do that. You can also, if you're in your tile sheets, you can set specific tile properties to individual tiles. So over here, I have my tile set menu. So these are all the different tiles I have currently, the interior tiles, the Carolyn's greenhouse you can see right here. I have my custom sprite sheet that I've made so that I can have the bathroom fixtures, because I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it bothers me not to have the bathrooms in the houses. I have thought about doing a mod that just adds bathrooms to everybody's houses. I feel like maybe I'm the only one who wants that, but if y'all want that, let me know that in the comments, and I might actually just make that mod because it bothers me that much. So, of course, when I made Joseph's house, I had to give him a bathroom. And there has to be a guest bath upstairs next to the rooms where his family stays. So you can add in, so you go to the sheet with the star on, new tile set. You browse your tile set, say I want the bathhouse tile set. I open that. And that will import a specific tile set. This you can load in just a whole collection at a time if you want, and it'll turn it into a tile set for you to use. So say you have a bunch of single plant images and you want a plant tile set, you could do that way. But for Stardew Valley modding, I recommend making a full tile sheet and having it import as a full tile sheet. You set your tile width and your tile height. If your project requires margins, you set that, and then you just click OK. And then it will be added in here in alphabetical order. So it's because it's the bathhouse tile starts with B, it's going to be the first on my list. You can embed a tile set if you want something embedded into your project. For Stardew Valley modding, we don't do this. Everything will be stored in your mod folder. You can export a tile sheet so that any data you have saved, like if you've animation data, you can export that. Again, for Stardew Valley modding, it has to be done a very specific way or it doesn't quite work. So that's just information if you use this for a different project. You have a refresh button or a replace button. So say I did a recolor, and this is like, pretend that's a recolor. It is recolor, but it's recolor of the mines and not of the bathhouse. But I hit replace, I choose the one I want it. You can replace that. You can hit delete, which I'm not using that one, so I'm just going to delete it. If you want to edit something in your tile sheet, you click on the little wrench work. It brings you to a new panel here, which is specific to your tile sheet. You can open tile set properties. It'll give you all your tile set properties, including which image was used right here. You can rotate it, you can flip it. If you rotate, you hit your toggle. If you want to add a terrain, you can do that here. If you need to do a collision, which all of that is hard-coded into the Stardew layer, so depending on what your layer is named, that's where that is for the Stardew modding, so we'll go over that in a different file. If you're making an animation, you click the little movie thing. So say I want to animate, we have to click on the one we want to animate. So say we want to animate this tile there, then click on that tile, we open our movie panel, and then we can click on each frame we want. And I have that set to 1,000 milliseconds, which is actually very slow. So if you can see that here. So say I need to shorten that to 500. I set that there. I can either click on it and apply it once. I can highlight everything and apply it all together. And now you see over here, it's going much faster. Or if we want it at 200. So it'll show it to you in two places. You'll have it down here in the box, but you also have a much larger place over here so you can get everything sped up. So now you see that little bar over the tile, and you see it now over here. So if I put my tile in here, it's going to play the animation for me. And this dynamically wrap. So if you see this happen in tiled, what's probably happened is your dynamic wrap got turned on, and it's just put everything in a single row that matches the size of your window. Some people like that. I personally find it confusing because I remember things based on where they are in the tile. So you can just turn that off and it goes back to following your tile sheet. And then you could just hit save. I am not particularly needing any of those changes to save, so I'm just going to close it and discard that because I already have everything preset. Let's see what else is here. You can have your object data there. A mini map screen will kind of show you. So if you're zoomed in here, it'll show you the whole map, and that red box will indicate which section of the map you're zoomed in on. Okay, so the next information that's important is down here. It's going to tell you if there's errors or warnings. So this is because I've been playing around with it and messed with some settings. It's telling me everything's messed up. And it'll tell you what's messed up and where it's found. And it's basically angry because I have a tile set that is open from a different folder that doesn't correspond to the same project. This probably happened when I opened my mega map project to show you the world view. The other thing it'll show you is where you see this blank space right here. If I mouse over a tile, there we are, it'll show you the XY coordinates for that tile. So when you're placing entrance coordinates, or if you need an exact tile location, you can basically mouse your tile over that spot. So right here on my front door, it's 1431. And I believe it is also giving me the tile data number. So if I click on this tile, let's choose one that we can easily see. Let's choose, what have I got? Go over here. Okay. We're going to go to the top of the shower curtain here. So this shower curtain ID is going to be ID 0 because it is the very first tile in my tile sheet. So if I mouse over that shower curtain, I am not sure. Oh, because I'm not on the buildings layer. Let's see. Let me find out what layer that's on. Because there's multiple. Okay, so I need to be on always front. If I mouse over the shower curtain, then you can see next to the 1121, there is a 0. And no matter what layer you're on, like if I was on always front and I go over there, it's going to tell me number 4. Well, number 4 is that corner of the shower bar that I have on the always front layer, which is the layer above it. So it will give you your XY coordinates and your tile ID, as long as you remember that the tile ID is going to be on the layer that you currently have selected. If you need a tile ID and you're not 100% sure what layer that's on, you can go to your tile sheet, say I want this picture frame, and up here in ID it will tell you what your tile ID is. So that picture frame would be 170. Oh, I know what I was going to show you. So if you go into your tile data, buildings layer, and you select your thing, and then you go over here to your peak buildings layer, it will tell you what information is set. So in this case, it's an NPC passable set to true for the stool, because the stool was applied to the buildings layer, which is hard-coded not to let anybody walk through it, but I wanted Father Joseph to be able to go and sit there. So all of my chairs in this case are all set to true so that the characters can sit on them, but the farmer can't unless you click on them. Because if you remember in the original game, you have to click on the chairs and the couches for your farmer to sit on them. Well, in order for that to work, it has to be placed on a buildings layer. And the way the buildings layer is hard-coded is your farmer can't walk through it. And NPCs can't walk through it. So that is one example of when you might use your tile data. Same thing with the tile data on the doors, is you have to tell tile that it's a door, and you set that as a action /door in your object layer named buildings in this case. And then when you get to the game, that's that the content patcher in the game takes that information and makes it so that the door automatically opens. See, the back in your edit tile sheet, you can click on a tile, you can click add property, and then you can name a property directly on your tile sheet. So if you have like water, you could set that as water. And that's more applicable on the outdoors where you set grass and stone and it gives you the different sounds as the farmer walks over them. See, you can on your layers basically work the way you think they do, is whatever's on top is also going to be on top over here. So if you watch I'm pointing at my screen like y'all can see me point at the screen. I got to remember to use my mouse instead. So like this shower head here is on always fronts, which puts it over the top of the curtain, which is on always front. So, and then you always front 2 versus always front. And that will make sure that they're seen in the order in which your sheets are going top to bottom. I think that's all the pertinent details for a basic walkthrough. We will go into actually building a map on the next video, but I thought it was important to have your instructions mostly separate so you can just go to the walkthrough video and learn what's where without having to watch me build a map as I do it. So I hope you all found that useful. We'll build a map in the next video, and until then, I hope you have a wonderful day.